Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining here at Unapologetically Progressive. Now let's talk about those Trump tariffs, as the markets are in complete free fall right now, except for maybe an hour earlier today where some fake news had a glimmer of hope for the economy that stated that Trump was possibly going to pull back on all the tariffs except for the ones to China. And that made a lot of people happy. But then it turned out the White House announced that that was complete fake news, that they don't know where that news came from, that that's just not happening. But let's talk about how those tariffs came about and how Donald Trump came up with them. As was pointed out in the comments a few different times, one person pointing out how people are very confused about the term reciprocal. Because a lot of people believe with him using that term that the tariffs we're putting on these other countries are the same tariffs they've put on ours. But that's not the case. That is not how this works. And it's definitely not how he has made it work. Right? Now, you would think a term like reciprocal would mean another country puts a 10% tariff on you, so you put a 10% tariff on them. They put a 50% tariff on you, you put a 50% tariff on them. That's what you would think, right? And this is, I think, partly why so many people in the world of economy, economists, people that study it, and things like that, is the fact that he didn't follow any kind of normal pattern or process for coming up with these tariffs. He literally simply took the trade deficit that we have with each of these individual countries, and whatever the difference was between our imports from these countries and our exports to these countries, whatever the difference was, and the percentage of difference between those two, was what he decided to be the tariff. The only place that didn't happen was Vietnam, where it would have been a 90% tariff. But out of the good graces of the Trump administration's heart, according to them, they only set it at 46%. Now, if I recall from the things that I've read about Vietnam and the tariffs they have in the U.S., they're somewhere between 13 and 15%, depending on which article I read. If that's the case, you would think the U.S. would have hit them with a 13 to 15% tariff. But they didn't. They hit them with a 46% tariff. So, as mentioned in the comments, these tariffs aren't reciprocal. They're not being fairly decided. They're not being smartly decided, and they're definitely not following any kind of pattern that any economist can make sense of. So what do we do? Like he's making these tariff changes. Congress isn't getting a say in any of it. He's just doing whatever he wants because he says there's some kind of national emergency. Therefore, he has all these free powers to do basically whatever the hell he wants. And Congress is just letting him do it. Congress could really, tighten the reins a little bit. They have the ability to come together and stop these tariffs with a joint resolution from both chambers. They could do this. Unfortunately, most Republicans don't care. And Speaker Mike Johnson isn't going to let a bill come to the floor about that stuff. But Congress has the ability. They have the power here to stop him. But they're choosing not to. He claims there's a national emergency at the border. There's not, but he claims there is one. But then he comes up with these policies, and no one seems to fight back. No one seems to be stopping it. No one seems to care. Because what he's doing right now doesn't make any sense. When you have economists on both the left and the right who are saying he is dead wrong, he is wrong. End of story. And the fact that he doesn't care. That's the worst part, is the fact that he just doesn't care about the pain he's causing American people. He's killing American businesses. He's destroying your 401k. He's destroying the retirement for your family, for your parents. And honestly, I don't know where it stops. If you have any more information on how these tariffs don't make any sense, please hit me up in the comments and let me know where you're coming from and why you believe what you believe. Anyways, have a good day. I'll see you down the road.